All right, so we're at take four, or maybe take five, maybe take six, I don't know. But welcome to Critical Weight Theory. It's time to do another Yooper-themed episode about the area where I live. So today I'm talking about Marquette, Michigan. I don't live in Marquette, I actually live in Hancock, but I've long had family living in the Marquette area. For years, my brother and my mother lived in Marquette, even though they have since moved to the smaller nearby city of Negaunee. I can say I've spent a fair amount of time hanging out in the Marquette area over the years. In fact, a few years back, I got to get more familiar with the area myself because I served on a federal grand jury for a term of 18 months. So put yourself in my shoes on that one. Once a month for almost 18 months, because one session got canceled, I had to travel 100 miles to sit in the federal courtroom in Marquette, Michigan, to hear different cases and help decide if those cases should move forward based on the evidence presented. So, I was kind of forced to hang around in the Marquette area, so I, got to do that a little bit, and I also got to hang out with my family more. So it was really an excuse to get familiar with the area and visit my mom and my brother and my nephew. So I had previous experiences in Marquette too because my mom and brother live there, of course, and sometimes I just end up traveling there in my younger days, maybe to see a concert, or at one point in my life to visit a girlfriend who was going to school there at Northern Michigan University. Marquette is the county seat of Marquette County and the largest city in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. That's right, it's like our equivalent to a big city, but it's definitely not that big of a city. It's right on the southern shore of Lake Superior, the biggest of the Great Lakes, and one that shapes nearly everything about life here, from the weather to the economy to the personality of the place. The Lake Superior is indeed a giant lake that you do become familiar with if you live anywhere in this area. So Marquette has a population just over 20,000. So Marquette isn't big by most standards, but north of the Tri Cities, it's the largest city in the state. That alone makes it a regional anchor. So the city is named after Jacques Marquette, a French Jesuit missionary who explored the Great Lakes region in the 1600s. His name now belongs to a place that still feels tied to exploration, to movement, and the pull of the landscape. For much of its history, Marquette has been defined by shipping. The massive ore dock on the waterfront is impossible to miss. It's definitely a big local landmark. For generations, iron ore from the Marquette Iron Range moved through that port out into the Great Lakes and beyond. That industry helped build the city and still shapes its skyline. But Marquette today isn't just a shipping town. One of the biggest forces in the city is Northern Michigan University, which I mentioned earlier. Founded in 1899 as the Northern State Normal School, the university has grown into a major cultural and economic driver for the region. It brings in students, professors, artists, researchers, and athletes. It brings energy to the area, you might say. Because of NMU, Marquette, it does have more concerts, lectures, and public events. On any given week, you might find a visiting speaker, a hockey game, or a live performance happening on campus. The university gives the city a youthful pulse that blends with its older industrial roots. The local economy has diversified as well. Healthcare is a major sector, anchored by UP Health System, Marquette, which serves as a regional medical center for much of the Upper Peninsula. People travel long distances to receive care there, making it a vital hub in a largely rural area. Though, of course, if you do live around here, you'll hear people complaining about the UP health system. So get ready for that. It's not just endless praise that people will heap upon that place. But the thing is, if you've got any sort of serious health problem, there's actually a pretty good chance you're either going to end up at the UP health system, or maybe they'll take you on a nice little helicopter ride or something out of the state to some other location where they can treat you. So those are some of the main options that we have here. Tourism also plays a huge role in the area, and it's easy to see why. Marquette is a gateway to the outdoors. The city is surrounded by forests, trails, and water, and residents don't just visit these places, they live in them. Hiking, mountain biking, skiing, and snowshoeing are part of life for a lot of people around here. And the Nquaman the Noquamanon Trail. I obviously don't say that word often, but it is a trail network that winds through the woods and along the lakeshore, offering miles of routes for every season. In winter, you've got groomed ski trails that glide through quiet pine forests and rolling hardwoods, delivering the kind of classic Upper Peninsula winter that people travel hours to experience. Then there's Presque Isle Park. Presque Isle is a 323-acre forested peninsula that juts out into Lake Superior, just north of downtown. It's one of Marquette's treasured places. And I've been there on a few occasions myself, for a family cookout type of thing or whatever. And you've got cliffs that drop straight into the lake, waves crashing against the beaches, and on clear days, the views stretch endlessly across the water. And the road that loops through the park is often described as charming and picturesque. It's a nice drive, and it's worth going on if you're in the area. I will say though that there are areas even in the UP that rival uh, that drive. Like if you've ever had a chance to go to Copper Harbor, that's also a very nice drive. So if you're a tourist, feel free to also head to Copper Harbor because it's it's just nice there. You don't even have to go out into the woods. The drive there is pretty scenic. So yeah, even though this is mostly about Marquette, obviously I'm kind of straying a little bit from that topic. So downtown Marquette is, something I became more familiar with. It serves as the city's central business district, and you've got historic buildings that sit alongside art galleries, local shops, and coffee houses and restaurants. When I would get done for the day in one of those uh, court proceedings that I had to attend, I would often go to a restaurant and just have a meal, and then I'd take the bus back to Nagani. And when it comes to Marquette, there's a strong craft brewery scene, and it's one of those things that can thrive in places where winters are long, and you got to find something to do to get by. And what do you know? That's uh that's alcohol sometimes for a lot of people. And downtown feels, it feels nice. It's a nice little city, Marquette. It's uh it's not like a big city exactly. Like you're not going to be scared of it probably unless you're kind of strange. I'm sure you'll hear some horror stories about you know about some weird events that happen, like crimes or something. But you can hear about those in any place. Marquette is a low crime area, just like the entire UP is low crime. And really, what defines Marquette though is the relationship between the city and its environment. There's that ore dock and the lake, the university and the nearby forest, industry and recreation. It's a kind of co-partnership the natural landscape doesn't sit outside the city, it sort of runs through it, and it shapes it too, and it almost demands respect, you could say, because there's never a there's never a nature trail that's you know uh, far away from the place. And Marquette is a place where you can walk from a college campus to rocky Lake Superior shoreline in just minutes. It's a city built on iron ore that thrives on ideas and outdoor life. So, the weather can be harsh in the winter, but the beauty can be overwhelming. And there's a sense of place that's unmistakable if you are in the Marquette area. It's not just a dot on the map of the UP in Michigan. It's like a city that knows exactly where it is. And, I appreciate that it has like its own unique merits. And it really is like our big city, I guess you could say. Although it's, again, not very big. But what can you do? You take, you take whatever credit you can get. If you're a smaller town, then you might say that you excel in being a little bit larger than the other towns around you. And that's sort of what Marquette does, I guess. So, all right. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I might do some follow ups in the future. I think there's more specific stuff to talk about when it comes to Marquette, so I will maybe eventually do that. So, all right. Have a nice day.